Today, we're going to talk about a single day in history, a day that, honestly, changed everything. We're diving into the story of Pearl Harbor, a moment of shock and tragedy that really shaped the world we live in today.
So, I want you to picture this. It's Hawaii, the sun's coming up, the weather is beautiful, and for all the American sailors stationed at the naval base at Pearl Harbor, well, it was just another quiet Sunday morning.
But, high above the ocean, something was heading their way. And the peace of that morning, it was about to be completely shattered.
So, what exactly went down on that day? Let's get right into the heart of it, the chaos and the total shock of the attack.
Tora, Tora, Tora. That's what the lead Japanese pilot radioed back to his fleet. It means tiger, tiger, tiger. And it was the secret signal that their wild plan had actually worked. The Americans on the ground, they had absolutely no clue what was about to hit them.
And the result? Well, it was just devastating. In less than 2 hours, almost 2,500 Americans lost their lives. And you have to remember, these aren't just numbers. These were real people, sailors, soldiers, and even civilians who just happened to be there.
The main target here was the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The goal was to basically cripple it in one single strike. And they came really close. 21 ships were either sent to the bottom of the harbor or were just wrecked, leaving the heart of the U.S. Navy in the Pacific a burning mess.
You know, something this huge, this destructive, it just doesn't happen out of the blue. So it makes you ask the big question, why? Why did this happen? To figure that out, we've got to rewind a little bit.
All right, let's untangle this whole thing. We're going to look at the reasons that put Japan and the United States on a direct path to war.
So, it really boils down to one critical thing: oil. See, Japan was fighting a war in China, and its entire military, its ships, its planes, its tanks, ran on oil. And get this, about 80% of that oil came from the United States. So when the US cut them off to protest the war, it was a massive problem. Japan was, literally, running out of gas.
This basically backed Japan's leaders into a corner. They felt like they had two options. One, give in to what America wanted, which they thought would be a total humiliation. Or two, fight. Go to war and take the oil they needed from other places in Asia. They chose to fight.
But, okay, attacking America? That's a huge gamble. They needed a plan that was more than just bold. It had to be something nobody thought was even possible.
And this was it, the Kido Butai. It was this gigantic secret fleet, the most powerful carrier force in the entire world. To make sure no one saw them coming, this whole group of ships, we're talking 6 aircraft carriers and over 400 planes, sailed thousands of miles across the stormy, empty part of the Pacific. And the whole way, complete radio silence.
Spook. And this part is just genius, in a terrifying way. See, everyone thought the big battleships were safe from torpedoes because the water in Pearl Harbor wasn't very deep. Normally, torpedoes would just dive into the mud. But Japanese engineers came up with a simple, brilliant fix. They attached special wooden fins to their torpedoes. This tiny change let them skim through the shallow water, and suddenly, those safe battleships were sitting ducks.
So, the secret plan is in place, the fleet is ready, let's get back to the attack itself and see how it all went down, minute by minute.
Oh man, this part of the story is just tragic. There were 2 American soldiers who were actually using this brand new technology called radar, and they saw a giant blob of planes heading right for them. They called it in, but the officer who took the call just figured it was a group of American bombers that were supposed to arrive that morning. He told them, don't worry about it. A huge opportunity to prepare was just lost.
And then it happened, and it was so fast. The first wave hits at 7:55 a.m. Total surprise. Just 15 minutes later, the USS Arizona explodes and sinks almost instantly. Then a second wave of planes comes in to continue the attack. By 10 o'clock in the morning, it was all over.
The story of the USS Arizona is it's the heart of the tragedy. A bomb smashed through its deck and hit the ship's ammunition. The explosion was so powerful, it lifted the massive battleship out of the water. It sank in less than 9 minutes, and it became the final resting place for over 1,000 of its crew.
But even in all that horror, there were these incredible moments of pure courage. The USS Nevada, even though it was already hit, actually got its engines going and made a run for the open ocean. It immediately became the #1 target for every Japanese plane, but its crew just kept fighting. What a story of bravery. But here's the thing, and it's a huge twist. For all the damage Japan caused, They actually missed their most important targets, America's aircraft carriers. The ships that would end up being way more important than battleships weren't even in the harbor. They were out at sea. Plus, the attackers didn't destroy the giant fuel tanks or the Navy repair yards. That was a critical mistake. It meant America could rebuild and fight back way, way faster than Japan ever thought possible.
The attack itself was over in a couple of hours, but its memory is still so powerful. Let's talk about how we remember Pearl Harbor today.
If you go to Pearl Harbor now, it's this incredible place full of history. You can visit the USS Arizona Memorial, this beautiful, quiet building that floats right over the sunken ship. And then, right next to it, is the battleship Missouri. That's the ship where Japan officially surrendered, ending the entire war. It's amazing. You can see where the war started for America and where it ended, all in the same place.
And looking at this just reminds us of the true cost. You can see the Navy took the biggest hit by far, but it's so important to remember that it was everyone. The Army, the Marines, and even civilians lost their lives that day.
So, that brings us to the final, most important question. Why do we keep telling this story? Well, Pearl Harbor is more than just a battle. It's a lesson about being prepared, about courage, and about consequences. Remembering what happened helps us honor those who were lost, and, hopefully, helps us learn from the past so we can build a better, more peaceful future.